I'm David Fairclough and you're watching Redmen TV.
Newspapers reporting that we will accept in the region of £25 million.
Newspapers?
Potentially, yeah. It's been a few, but I read it in the Mirror, which didn't accredit it, which tells you a lot. It was actually, I wish I could remember who it was. It was someone semi, no, maybe it wasn't someone semi. It was a journalist. He had his own headline, his own clickable link on the Mirror website, which doesn't necessarily.
What, did you click on it?
Nah, didn't fuck.
You go to the Metro.
Didn't recognise his face. Wasn't asked. So yeah, I'll take it with a grain of salt because the article. Anyway, the article was will accept £25 million for Daniel Sturridge.
Yeah.
And the article was written on the lines of Liverpool will look to accept, might well accept £25 million. Pressure on Daniel Sturridge, because they've been unhappy with his fitness, yada, yada, yada. And then it went on to regurgitate Klopp's quotes from the other week when he says about he's on his mini pre-season. People think he's been available for X amount of things, but he's missed sessions on the way, yada, yada, yada. And they used the bad spin on that to fill the rest of the article. Nowhere was it mentioned that no sources were cited. There was literally nothing there were no quotations around it in any way, shape or form. But it does spark the question, because we've spoken a lot about Daniel Sturridge, and we're having a little discussion in the office prior to filming this. And the question is, what would, if anything, you accept for Daniel Sturridge? Right
now, I wouldn't accept anything for Daniel Sturridge. You know, I think that, and I'm putting myself in Klopp's shoes. I'm not thinking as me. You know what I mean? I'm thinking Klopp's basically Daniel Sturridge. He's not had a go at getting him right yet. This is his first, you know, he got injured. Was it the first game? Was it Tottenham Hotspur or something like that? And he didn't make that game. He's come back one time. Klopp realised that he probably rushed him back and's gone, okay, we're gonna get him right, and we're gonna have a go at that. Because if the figure for me is, I know you guys disagree with this, but if the figure for me is 25 million quid, that's nada Milana. I think if Klopp thinks that he can get Daniel Sturridge fit, and if it's working on a different training regime to the rest of the squad, he's worth a lot more than £25 million.
Yeah.
So yeah. I would give it until the end of pre-season.
Yeah.
Because Klopp's already said he hasn't had a pre-season since 12-13 was it, or 13-14, and I think he wants to see what he's like with a full pre-season under his belt.
My thing is, I think I agree with the here and now. I wouldn't sell him at all now. I think in for a penny, in for a pound. And I think we said this the other week, is that I don't see any point in selling them now, because you're not going to replace. You're right. You're not going to replace him. You could bolster your kitty. 25. You wouldn't buy a Daniel Sturridge replacement necessarily for 25 million unless you've got a young, potentially brilliant person scouted. But the you could, if you had 20 million already in the bank, you could take 45 million and buy someone good enough to replace Daniel Sturridge. But I'm of the opinion that, yeah, given to the end of the season. Now, the thing is, okay, you wouldn't necessarily, you're right, maybe not to sell him on the first day of the transfer window as a result, but I would be listening to offers in the summer, unless he has an amazing end to this, season, simply because that's 2 seasons now. That'll be 2 seasons of him being consistent. He scored 4 this season. I think he only got a 4 last. You know, he's played a grand total of about 12 games. He's played about 15, 16 games, I think, over 2 seasons now. You can't, you know, that's basically £25 million sat there. That's just basically, it's not gaining any value. It's depreciating with every single fucking day that passes. Go on, Aubrey. What if you had to accept a bid? What would it be, and when would it be?
Okay, I would accept any, if they bid any, if some nutter of a chairman was to sanction north of a 16, 18 million pound bid, snap their hand off.
Really? As low as that?
Yeah. I'd rather have us spending 18 million and putting it towards buying someone who can actually play for us. And you know what? If they can figure out how to get him fit, and if they can figure out how to keep him on the pitch, fair dues to them, and they've got themselves a £40 million striker for 18 mil. But at the moment,
for 18 meals,
18 meals. Wow. That's how low I'd say. But at the moment, it's he's just Deadwood to us, isn't he? He is that other Deadwood. And it's so sad because I think he's boss, and I've said many a time that I think he's out and out the best striker in the Premier League. And, you know, Aguero plays more of a 10, is more skillful. Out and out, if on his day he can finish better than anyone, and it's really horrible. But Liverpool fans are hung up on, if we can just get Daniel Sturridge back and he can get 15 goals in 20 games, it removes that from us. It removes that temptation from them when they're scouting players, when they're looking at moving forward. Because essentially, if you've got the potential of a fit Daniel Sturridge next summer? Do we go out and buy a main striker? No, because we've got Daniel Sturridge, and it could be that.
You know what? It's one of those situations where it's almost like, to use like a Chapman footman, because that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Situation is like you transfer list them, you see who wants to buy him, and if it's anyone that you think's quite good, you'd be like, oh, well,
why don't I get rid of him?
Whereas if like Newcastle come in for him, you'd be like, yeah, you're right. Actually, that's where I feel. Yeah. That's where I feel an injury-laden player is probably fit to wind up. Really, you know, go to a you know, to be fair, decent mid-table Premier League side and not play because of injury problems. Kind of like us.
Yeah. The thing is though, like the other one is, it's kind of a moot point because it's almost like Liverpool will listen to offers of 42 million for Joe Allen. No one's linked. Yeah. No, there's no because West Brom are thinking of bidding that. It's someone's just wrote an article. Yeah. Every player has got a fee, and the article's essentially said, X Liverpool player will be listened to for X amount of money. No one's thinking of bidding that. Yeah. So until it was concrete, so imagine if it was like, okay, a bit further along the line, Sunderland have come in and said, look, we think he can keep us up 20 million. Newcastle are like 25 million, and then you are actually given that choice. And my choice would be, I know I've just said I'd sell him, I'd keep him until the summer because we've put so much resources into him. Let's just have a look. Let's just write this season off. But next summer, I think,
the problem with Daniel Sturridge is the thing is, I think 25 million it's actually, it's not great journalism, it's shit journalism, but that's a really interesting figure for me because it's a lot of money. It's double your money on nearly on what you pay, or it's a 10 million profit roughly on what we paid for him. It's not world class level money. It counts for all that kind of stuff. The problem with Daniel Sturridge is that he's the kind of player who could go to a Man United or a Chelsea or an Arsenal and have a fitness routine tailored specifically to him, and he probably would score 15 to 20 goals. You know what I mean? It's probably, if he was 31 years old, you'd be all over Daniel Sturridge because he's only playing 15 to 20 games tops. You know what I mean? And you're using him sparingly. Whereas the problem we've got is he's meant to be our absolute fucking main man. Can we afford to have someone like that on the books? I think there's a strong case to say, yeah, actually. If we can afford to buy another striker of his calibre, then you may as well just
have him as the luxury.
Have him as your backup, you know, centre forward.
That's it. I think that we might see a time next season whereby I think we're going to buy a striker in the summer regardless. And you know, you're right about the temptation being there. You know, having Daniel Sturridge, but I think Liverpool will have gone through this season and realised that you can't do that. We've got to have someone in the same mould as Sturridge who's as good, if not better, than Daniel Sturridge.
So, question: 25 million. First day of the summer transfer window open. £25 million bid comes in for Sturridge or Benteke. Who do you rather?
Benteke.
Would you? So like, if you're losing money on one, you're making money on the other. Let's say Daniel Sturridge plays another 5 games.
Well, exactly. There's the conundrum between that. Is because if you sell Benteke and Daniel Sturridge hasn't proven his fitness, you have to go and buy two. You have to go buy 2 strikers.
Danny Ings is back, Origi's back.
Well, you've got to, so you want if depends how many you're going to play. If you're going to play 2 up front, you need 4, don't you?
I just think ultimately we know how to play with Daniel Sturridge. It seems like after 6 months of the season we don't know how to play with Christian Benteke. So what's the point of having a fit Christian Benteke? We don't know how to get him.
I'd take the 25 million for Benteke now and keep Sturridge and hope, because I think exactly that. I don't think he's fit, and I think, unfortunately, we doubled down and we backed the manager who thought he could get him to work. It was his man, and it
still comes down
not there anymore.
For me, and it's what happens between now and then. Because there's the thing with Sturridge. We're saying give him a pre-season, but he's doing that now, per se. Yeah. So he's taking them out and he's just training them. He's just training them to... Yeah, exactly. But, you know, you can play behind closed doors games and all that if they feel that, and you'll get the same level of workout as you would do in a pre-season game. Maybe even more if you're playing a decently competitive under-21 game. But the fact is, I think the aim is to know by the end of this season, because you can't fuck around again with him, you know. So we'll know but when he next pulls on a Liverpool shirt, he is ready. He's ready for it. And if he then has another one of those injuries, I think they'll just fucking cut the losses. I don't see any point. You know what I mean? Because 25 million quid, and this is all hypothetical. Because again, if he has another injury, as you say, there's nothing saying anyone's going to come in with that bid. I think someone would take a punt on Sturridge, But that being said, that's 25 million quid that you can just be like, mate, what's the fucking point?
He'll also be on decent wages, and there's a lot of the wage budget tied up in him as well, isn't he?
Go and take that 25 million quid, a hypothetical 25 million pounds.
Add 20 million to it.
Exactly. Put it towards someone you really want. You're selling your Amiga 600 for £100, and you're putting that £100 towards your Super Nintendo. It's a simple, you know what I mean? Because your Super Nintendo can be amazing. It's untried. It's untested. No one knows if it's going to be the console you want it to be.
You've watched the demo playing of Super Mario.
You've been in Comet playing Street Fighter 2, and you know it's probably going to be good.
Talking from experience here, Paul.
Absolutely. Speaking of strikers, and also speaking of injury-prone strikers, Alex Pato resurfaced again, like the phoenix from the ashes.
He's literally in a I was talking about a foot race. They're probably in a Segway race because they can't use muscles with Daniel Sturridge for who's going to miss the most games in the season. He's missed 71 games over the last 5 years, Pato. Sturridge is winning. He's missed 86 games over the same time period.
Over 5?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So, but like you're talking three thigh injuries that I saw in 2012, 2013. 3 hamstring injuries in like 10, 11. So they're on the same course.
The same trajectory, yeah.
Why would we buy another one of these players? That's what baffles me.